Well, a lot of people agree with what I said, and I'm not talking about lying. I'm not talking about not lying. Nobody really knows why we went into Iraq. The Iraqis did not knock down. It was not Saddam Hussein that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay,
that's fine, and we knew who they were.
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice.
Blow up Building 7. They do JFK.
I believe JFK was not just killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay.
Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
This one gets kind of wacky and a little bit out of control. Let's get into it.
It's not human intelligence we're facing. I refuse to fight with everybody. All the stupid racist white people, the stupid racist black people, all the stupid racist Mexicans, all of you. I can't stand you. You're idiots. We're under attack. Everybody's under attack.
Okay, guys, so on today's episode, I'll be talking about conspiracy theories. Make conspiracies great again.
On September the 12th, 2001, what would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald?
What is the problem with conspiracy theories? Are they out of control? How do we discern truth from lies and conspiracies? When and where can we believe media outlets and government agencies, if we can ever? Which conspiracy theories interest you the most? Which conspiracy theories do you think are so certain of truth that you're shocked they're still conspiracy theories? Put that into the comments. Also, like, comment, share, and subscribe this channel. For it to grow, it needs your help. But seriously, put into the comments the conspiracy theories that you think are almost a fact. Shocked that it's a conspiracy. Mine is JFK being shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. We all know it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. We all know it was the CIA, and we are all shocked that people still believe it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I also think Russia was involved in Trump's election. I still think Trump would have won, regardless. In the interest of timing, and this episode can't be too long because I am not editing it for 5 days again. Let's go into the first segment.
Of course, it's all connected. This conspiracy goes all the way to the top.
Building 7. They do JFK. They do Libya. They do Afghanistan for 20 years. I mean, there isn't a thing they haven't lied to you about. They did COVID. So why wouldn't they? You think that's beyond the pale that they would rig an election in the United States?
You're never going to get our First Amendment. And I'm glad you had to move back to England to live under your Islamic takeover. And when they're arresting people for being against transgenderism, you once don't want freedom, Piers.
It's important to let you guys know ideologically where I stand. I have a leaning for conspiracy theories.
Aluminum foil hat will prevent the government from reading your thoughts. So
I'm apparently left-leaning a little bit. I also come from a community that has many times been the victims of conspiracy theories. If that's not Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, it's the many black activists that have been killed, unfortunately, and been spied on and denied, then later admitted in the future. If you think I'm lying about that, please look into J. Edgar Hoover, who he is, his actual real ethnic background, why he hid his ethnic background, and his attack on the black community.
And while Hoover is far from the only government official to have been nervous about MLK's rise to prominence throughout the late 50s and early 60s, he was definitely one of the Reverend's most outspoken adversaries. In fact, in 1964, Hoover told reporters, "Dr. Martin Luther King is the most notorious liar in the country."
Vidal claimed that it was commonly known in his family and around the city that Hoover was of mixed race, that this was kind of just an understood thing, especially his relentless persecution of Black Americans during the civil rights era.
Don't want to spend too long on J. Edgar Hoover because that again is an episode in itself. The point of those statements is I lean towards conspiracy theories. I will also be arguing against myself. So if you lean towards conspiracy theories, well done, but we have got to see why we do, how we do, and if it's even makes sense, and are we being manipulated ourselves? Take this, for example.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a tramp.
I'm sorry.
Actually doing research on my own and figuring out that there is no real picture of Earth. Like, there's not one picture of Earth. And we haven't been back to the moon since 1961 or 1969. And you start, and then it becomes like conspiracy theory.
So we have a tree here. Not a very good looking tree. Ball of bark's falling off. All on the left hand side. Look on the left hand side of that tree. Look on the right hand side. That's alright. Yeah. Right, well look at the right hand side of the tree. Look at the flower. Look at the bushes. Look at the green bushes. Yeah. Very nice. Look at the left hand side. Dead. Do you know why? Because that's right next to it. Look at this. Have you seen anything like that in your life? It's got a light right there. The transmitter on the top. Now how is that? Explain that. The right hand side of the tree that's not next to the transmitter, the growing away from it, is okay. I mean, look at this. Look how shocking. Look at all the bark falling off. All dead. Totally dead. Far too close to the light. Look at the bark. All on the left hand side, look. Look how close it is to the light. These 5G transmitters are lethal. If that's what it's doing to a tree, right next to a tree, think about what these are doing to our health.
The 5G towers during the COVID pandemic was perhaps one of the examples of conspiracy theories being harmful and one of the worst being out there.
Guys, you really take that seriously? Really, any of you out there, you think?
The COVID pandemic was a pandemic. Some people say plandemic. But it was a time of confusion. It was a state of where the country, the world was confused by this virus. There had been a little scare with the SARS and MERS virus in the early 2000s, but nothing at this scale, nothing at this level. Many conspiracy theories surrounded them at the time. Had the 5G towers, the outbreak of the 5G towers, especially that one of the 5G cities in China was Wuhan, where the virus came from. It doesn't take long before you discover.
543 coming up on 544. And have you heard 5G causes coronavirus? Well, here's where the claim first came from. It's from this Facebook post from March 19th. The poster claims to have done some research and made a map overlaying the new 5G towers with the COVID-19 cases. Then claims how it's weird the towers are right by the hotspots. Well, first, the poster only used AT&T's tower data, no other company. Two, where those towers are, they're based on population density. So where there are more people, there are going to be more cases of COVID-19. And three, there is just no evidence to support the poster's claim. So this is false. 5G towers are not causing coronavirus.
Wuhan had had the 5G tower since 2008. Why did it take so long for the virus to come, if that being true? And the reason I bring that up, and the famous 5G tree, is that it exposes that often conspiracy theories are birthed out of.
The findings that we came up with is the effect of fear and how fear creates a different narrative. That was put on by Leon Festinger. It deals with cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance theory leads to an exactly opposite prediction.
What it believes is that there is a certain amount of stress that human beings can actually handle comfortably. And if you hold beliefs strongly, and if confronted with an opposite belief, you suffer debilitating stress to the point that you cannot even function for some people.
For him, there is dissonance. Time after time, we have seen what follows.
You can live with the stress, or you reform the narrative.
This is seen across most conspiracy theories. The inability to accept the fact that something random happened.
Fear, lack of understanding, and sometimes it is easier to provide a logical narrative focus with a big bad behind it. The world government is in control, trying to orchestrate and mess up our lives, than accept that the world is run by human beings who are fallible, who make mistakes, who are logically inconsistent, they make mistakes, and we are not safe at all because the people running the world don't know what they're really doing. They're waffling.
What is this whole show based on? Everything's a conspiracy. Now think about how stupid that is. Does that mean there are no conspiracies in the world? No. I believe JFK was not just killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay. Does that mean everything's a conspiracy? Oh, who put this paper here? It's a conspiracy by the Bilderberg and the lizard people.
That is one of the many debunks towards conspiracy theories. It's one I do think myself. I think the world is fairly chaotic. I think the world is full of individual interests. I also have a contradictory view that there's many conspiracy theories out there as well. So, yeah. What's that really mean? But that is one of the debunks, and that is one of the reasons why people struggle with conspiracy theories. And I think that helps explain the 5G towers and the famous 5G tree. An article that describes this and goes into the details about this called The Noise of Conspiracy, the psychology of conspiracy theories, and it breaks it down to 4 main points, and 3 of them I think are worth mentioning. One being socioeconomic background, one being extremist leaning, and the third being poor education of the individuals that are leaning towards the conspiracies. Now, why I brought this up is to highlight this point, that is another one of the 3 arguments that people use to break down conspiracy theories. Now, if you know a lot about conspiracy theories, you know that doesn't fit broadly enough. However, with the 5G towers, it fits there. With Michelle Obama being a man, it fits there.
Now, let me go ahead and show you this. This is the 2 ladies, and we've had doctors on about this. Her shoulders are too wide. She's on like the 100th percentile of women, okay, with her body type. Her arms, everything. She always has this pooch, like she's wearing either a codpiece or has genitalia, okay? Now, she looks like a man. Like, dude looks like a lady, lady looks like a dude. And this is a funny cartoonist, Ben Garrison, who they're always calling racist and bad. And I mean, I'm sorry, it's true. It's a giant viral video phenomenon for like 8 years that she's a man. All I know is Obama was raised by a tranny in Indonesia. They're into all sorts of stuff. Hillary's daughters, Webster Hubbell's, none of the stuff we're told by these people is true. And national media takes it when I talk about this and acts like I'm crazy. Listen, there's hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. There's some videos with like 10 million views apiece, and there's dozens and dozens of them. Probably more than 100 million. I'm just guesstimating. Dead reckoning. Where mainline liberal sites think she's a man.
With LeBron James being a lizard because there's a glitch, it fits there. The Michelle Obama one, I have said many a times, is perhaps one of the most racist conspiracy theories out there. LeBron James being a reptile is just poorly educated. The poor socioeconomic background, I think, links to the poor educational background as well, by the way. The extremist leaning ones as well. But what about other conspiracy theories? Do they fit that same logical standpoint of it being these 1 of 3? Are they just ill-informed people?
Jesse,
not.
What would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence.
This is from the CNN poll. We're not making this up. It's right from CNN.com. 43% of Americans still believe that Saddam Hussein was personally involved in the September 11th attacks on this country.
So what does 9/11 have to do with Iraq? Well, nothing.
Not lying. Nobody really knows why we went into Iraq. The Iraqis did not knock down. It was not Saddam Hussein that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay.
9/11, one of the biggest world events. One of the world events that mirrors to me what happened in Watergate, which is the real genesis of when conspiracy theories started to take over, and that whole Cold War period time where many conspiracy theories mirrored the big bad being Russia now, because we have a agency in which we question our government more, we put our conspiracy theories on the face of our own governments, because that represents the lack of trust in government and media that we have anyway. Many of the genesis of these kind of conspiracy theories started with Watergate and have been exacerbated by 9/11 and then further exacerbated by COVID. But let's get into why 9/11 could be a conspiracy theory, or does it need debunking?
I was a trial lawyer for 28 years. You cannot give a theory of any kind unless you can back it up with substantial evidence. What motivated me to look into 9/11 is I had a student, and he came up to me real excited, and he said, I saw this amazing film, and it tells the truth of what happened on 9/11. I said, what was the name of it? He goes, Loose Change, you have to see it.
You sort of wonder when something like that happens, well, who stands to benefit? You know, who had the opportunity and the motive?
It is theory, 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 theory. Boom, 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 boom. You don't even have time to think.
Galileo's law of falling bodies calculates the time in which an object will travel a certain distance in complete freefall.
Wait a minute, what was that?
Now listen, you're known for conspiracy theories. I mean, do you believe that 9/11 was a setup?
Well, certainly Building 7 was imploded. But
Total conspiracy theory, and you know it's not
I don't think
true.
they did it to wipe them out.
What worries me is
Many of these conspiracy theories surrounding 9/11 have two main factors to them.
There are two conspiracy theories involving 9/11 attacks. The first one is LEHAP, meaning President Bush let it happen on purpose. The other one is MEHAP, made it happen on purpose.
But you know, I think the only person we have to blame for it is Bush, because this is all what he wanted.
Why blame Bush? I mean, Bin Laden versus Bush, it doesn't make any sense, because in conspiracy theories, it's the brown-skinned person who's responsible. It's the Jewish person who's responsible. Conspiracy theories always target the other. And in 9/11, which shocked me, the obvious evil outsider is Osama bin Laden.
That is, Bush did this intentionally in order to orchestrate a war in Iraq for oil. The other one being Bush let it happen intentionally because he wanted to orchestrate a war in Iraq. A false flag, as Alex Jones said. I know Alex Jones is problematic. I'm only using him as an example.
The mass shootings of Operation Gladio.
Right.
Ooh, the CIA don't like this right now.
You soon find out, if you do any research into the Bush administration or into that time, is, first of all, at the very least, the people that have come up with that conspiracy theory have the wrong person. It's probably, if not most likely, Dick Cheney. Secondly, the war in Iraq is kind of a weird one. Was it about oil? Was it about taking out Saddam Hussein? Saddam Hussein was becoming tyrannical. For many a long time, America has been lobbying to go into Iraq. We truly don't know, and that's a problem with conspiracy theories. They often provide conclusions to things that lack information, that they themselves lack the full picture. You see this with the COVID pandemic, is that the full picture just wasn't available to us, and perhaps even the scientists and people in government. No one truly had the full picture. With 9/11, there are many inconsistencies. Some people saying that things were being reported before they happened, others saying that these were...
The unsubstantiated claims say he's a crisis actor, a trained actor who takes advantage of tragedies for political gain. The conspiracies first surfaced Monday when the fringe website Gateway Pundit posted videos and articles accusing Hogg of memorizing what they call lines when he stumbles on camera.
Actually, that was a bad choice because the janitor... Sorry. Okay.
Crisis actors performing. When you look at these performances, allegedly, could they be performing? They seem too authentic. However, there is the school of thought that these people, due to the fame and notoriety that they got from being survivors, got so engrossed into the performance that they themselves believed it, which is believable. But however, it requires you to give a lot of credence and credibility to the conspiracy theorists, which takes me to Alex Jones.
You mean that President Bush and his administration were behind 9/11?
I mean that even mainstream news reported that the hijackers were ordered to be allowed into the United States. Michael Springman, the head of the visa department, blew the whistle on that.
So the Bush administration was part of a conspiracy
Well,
to
he
murder,
said never let us tolerate
to
murder. I can speak in this accent as well.
Yeah.
The
But is that what you
government,
believe?
Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag, Piers, to bring in martial law in Germany, April 27th, 1933. Governments have staged terror attacks throughout history or allowed terrorists to attack as a pretext to invade and enslave the populations.
Many conspiracy theorists aren't credible. Many conspiracy theorists cannot and shouldn't be fully trusted to the degree that they do. The problem is the trust or lack of trust is birthed from the lack of trust that we have in governments, the lack of trust we have in media outlets, the way they present arguments, the way they present information, often not correcting themselves when they are caught in a lie, often not questioning government officials enough, sometimes putting too much onus into particular election campaigns and particular storylines, which we know are potentially not that serious. So that questioning birthed the lack of trust that was put into these conspiracy theories, but we can see that they themselves are equally misinformed and potentially, in the case of Alex Jones, just not trustworthy. Now, I know some people may argue, and just for the purpose of time, I'm not going to get into Alex Jones. I'll do an episode if you want me to, put into the comments. But Alex Jones has been right at times, he's been wrong at times. He's been wrong and right about the same level of times. He's not someone you should dismiss easily. He's not someone you should accept too easily. But let's keep going, because we haven't got all day.
There's a weapon that powerful countries use to get rid of leaders they don't like, leaders from other countries. It's called a coup. It's a French word that means a punch or a blow, because it kind of means coming in and forcibly punching out a government from power. No elections, no process, just power being seized. Just someone being pushed out and someone being put in. Coups happen in so many different ways, but I want to show you how the coup has been used by the United States of America as a tool to get what they want on the world stage. So let me walk you through some of the major US-led coups over the years to show you.
Another reason why a 9/11 conspiracy theory is believed so popularly, so worldwidely, yet dismissed by the mainstream media, is because America have many a times, and the West in general have many a times, done things, false flags, coups, for the benefit and the interest of themselves alone. Sometimes for bananas.
A few years later, the US is back in the region for another coup in next-door Honduras. This one was plotted by a band of private American citizens, and it follows a similar pattern. A new president comes to town, in this case directly inspired by Nicaragua's president, and he wants to take back control of the country from American businesses. In this case, we're talking about bananas. The banana companies were not going to let this happen. And it was mostly this guy, a banana businessman named Sam the Banana Man. He's not going to let this pesky president run his country. No. So he assembles his own militia. He literally buys a surplus Navy ship, loads it up with weapons, and starts his campaign to get this president out. He sails from New Orleans to the coast of Honduras, and he literally invades the country with like a private army. Wait, where's the US government in all this? They also didn't like the political direction of Honduras either, so they just sort of stood back. Let this private invasion happen, and then at the critical moment, the US steps in to order a ceasefire, basically bullying the president to step down. He had no way forward, no defense, so he resigns. And the Banana Man's leader of choice takes the presidency, giving the banana businessman land and a unique status to import anything he needs tax-free. And, wait for it, he refunds him for all of the coup expenses using public Honduran money. This Banana Man literally overthrew the government and made Honduras pay for it. Wow.
In the case of Iran, sometimes for having favorable deals with countries where they can easily get cheap oil, bringing in the Shah of Iran. Shah just means king.
Previous ruler of Iran, Mohammad Reza Shah, which just means king, had fled the country. But now, with the democratically elected Mossadegh gone, and with the backing of the US and UK, he could charter a flight back into Iran and take control.
The Shah crowns himself in a tradition which goes back 25 centuries. His title is King of Kings, and he becomes emperor of his nation.
The US really came out on top here. They got what they wanted. They now have an American-friendly dictator in a powerful country in the Middle East who is now welcoming American oil companies to get in on one of the largest oil reserves on Earth. Under the Shah, Iran becomes a brutal police state. He executed military officers, student leaders, anyone associated with Mossadegh. He set up a secret police force, and life was brutal. So brutal that in 1979, the frustration of Iranians burst forth in mass protests that ran the Shah out of office and replaced him with an inspiring new leader who would turn Iran into an Islamic republic, built in part off a foundation of resentment for the US having meddled in their country. The Islamic Republic has held power ever since, and has morphed into the oppressive theocracy we know today, though maybe not for long.
Which, I don't know if it's worse or better. There seems to be uprising, but Iran is constantly in a state of uprising. It's very difficult to work out. You have Afghanistan, which was better before the Americans went in, but we're in a war with the USSR. Shout out to Johnny Harris as well. This part of this video would not be possible without him. Shout out to him. Subscribe if you enjoy his video. But then you also have Grenada.
It's communism again, and the US sends 2,000 troops to invade this small remote island and remove their communist leader. They didn't really know much about this small island, and they literally had to use tourism maps to plan their invasion. Anyway, American forces move in, overwhelm the Grenadian fighters who happen to be joined by their Cuban allies. The government collapses, and the US-friendly leader comes to power.
The coup that happened in Grenada, you've got the coups that happened in Congo, you've got the coups that happened in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Again, very interesting, not enough time to be fully covered in this episode. But the reason I bring this up is this is what fuels the beliefs in conspiracy theories, the lack and denial that many politicians put into it, and the poor execution of the dialogue and dissecting of what happened by the fourth estate, the media, who is supposed to be our truth bearers, are supposed to be the people that are trying to usurp the knowledge out of them.
Cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous.
However, the problem is that they themselves are compromised, often the companies themselves that are the media companies are subsidized by government agencies or companies that are closely related to government agencies. Sometimes the reporters themselves have close relationships to the particular politician or person under scrutiny. You find that even with researchers, especially in the terms of the COVID pandemic, that who was funding this had their own vested interests into the marketing of Pfizer, marketing of the profits of Pfizer, I should say, not marketing. But you can see often the people that we should turn for the reliable information are they themselves being compromised, whether that be financially or relationshiply. Not a word, maybe it's a word.
Say again?
However, how do you determine when a conspiracy theory is fake? Now, it requires the same kind of discernment and logic breaking down that you need with the mainstream media in general. You have to look at the motivation of the conspiracy theorists. Oftentimes, one of my favorite YouTubers, Russell Brand, can side with people that just are alternative to the mainstream news. I agree with a lot of what he says, but when I see him discuss and defend Nigel Farage, I worry. Are you a bit fallible to anyone that goes against the mainstream narrative? Me, myself, like I had Alex Jones in this video, can be fallible to siding with people that are just against the mainstream narrative. Yes, I have a little
You got exposed. You're just trying to be contrarian.
Contrarian in me. I am fallible to people who are contrarians. You have to challenge your own understanding of the world. You have to challenge the information, the research, how they access the research. Do they have access to the research? Before you can apply yourself and say, does this conspiracy theory make sense? Some are so obvious, they're almost true. One I have a problem with is that celebrities are still alive, the big one being Tupac.
In 2018, a website called Reporters posted a photo with Pac allegedly partying with Rihanna in Cuba. Some people say the picture is fake, but a lot of fans believe it's real. The Cuba theory's so popular that Kendrick Lamar even referenced it on his damn album. On the track Element, he says, Mr. 1 through 5, that's the only logic. Fake my death, go to Cuba, that's the only option. Eminem rapped about it too on the D12 track Freestyle, where he said, a lot of talk and rumors, honest. Who's the hottest? To be honest, hip-hop ain't been the same since Tupac moved to Cuba on us. In the 2000s, a site called Hollaback Exclusive posted a video that allegedly shows Tupac chilling in a parking lot in Cuba. The video starts with a dude saying,
the rumors is true. Tupac is living, yo. I just seen him in the studio, man. He just dissed.
Then, the camera pans over to show a group of dudes hanging out in the parking lot. The cameraman zooms in on the dude who's allegedly Pac, but the video is too blurry to really tell what's going on.
I don't think Tupac is alive, if I'm being honest. I think people struggle to accept that a hero, a sort of black superhero, died unfortunately and the police didn't care about. Does that actually sound unbelievable?
On me?
Yes.
That's stupid. Use your common sense. Don't forget the blogs. Forget how you feel about me. Hate me if you want to, love me if you want, but just use your common sense.
Or is it more easier for us to accept that Tupac was so ahead of his time that he has now hid off in Cuba? By the way, Cuba is not the best hiding spot ever. But it could be. I don't know. Conspiracy theories often give closed-ended answers to things that I just don't have the answer for. I know with the Tupac one, people may say, there's been sightings of him. They're very vague. They're very vague. But my point being is that we have to spend time discerning what the information we're given. It can push us in directions which create the culture war that we live in today. It can push us into siding with people that should not be trusted in the first place and are equally as distrustable as the people in power and the media outlets that we already are starting to en masse turn away from.
Can you state categorically? You are fake news. Sir, go ahead. Can you state categorically?
I hope anyone that watches this may think, this is more disjointed than his normal video. Yes, because it reflects the state of how I think about conspiracy theories. It's very contradictory. At one point, I think sometimes they are on the money and ahead of the curve. And at other times, I think they're misleading and potentially very dangerous. Some of the stuff you hear about diets, some of the stuff around the COVID pandemic and how to relieve yourself from COVID can be very misleading and end up with harmful consequences. And it just goes back to my final point. Take your time before you side or believe a conspiracy. Don't just go to it because you have a distrust of the government in general. They are probably withholding information, but what that information that they're withholding doesn't necessarily mean completely altruistic, totalitarian style government. However, it could reveal, like in the case of Watergate, that the people in charge really are just about their self-interest and covering up their dirty laundry. That is one of the possibilities. I enjoyed this episode. I really did enjoy it. It is perhaps one of my most disjointed episodes I've ever done, but that is because I myself don't know where I really stand with conspiracy theories and debunking them, which ones to believe, which ones don't believe, because in conclusion, we just don't know. I hope to see you next week. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe this video. Peace.
The guns, the iron rods, Piers, didn't do it. The tyrants did it. Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.